Hello, everyone. So we are about an hour before the close here on Friday, June 16th, going into a 3-day weekend. It's been a little bit of a stressing week on our P&L, and I have to take blame for this because I told the trade gods that I was going to try to take off a couple days and go with the grandkids to the mountains. And the trade gods must have heard that and said, "Hey, let's mess with Steve. He can't get any time off here." So anyhow, I attribute this massive spike yesterday to that. Um, Anyhow, regardless, as you can see, we've had a little bit of an unprecedented move. I mean, I was expecting once we finally broke out to get a decent move. So I was thinking 4,300 might be a viable location. I didn't expect 4,450, obviously. So in delta neutral trading, our goal is to try to set up a range that we expect the market to be in. And if the market stays in that range, we are profitable in those trades, most likely. When we blow excessively outside of that range, obviously it can hurt a little bit. Now, most of the trades we have on are skewed a little bit to accept some upside movement. You know, they're broken wing butterflies that have an upside, uh, less damage to the upside. Maybe let's put it that way. And so, and we've also been small. I mean, I'm only using about 25% of my account right now for this precise reason. Volatility is also significantly lower. And when volatility drops, the trading isn't quite as juicy. So, all of those things have played into an equity curve that is taking a dip this week based on the closed out trades that we had. So we've had a very nice run, but again, if we look at our bar chart here, we can see that we had some dogs that we closed out this week, and that is part of the game. Unfortunately, can't win them all. I've said for the past few weeks we've had a very good run. Um, but everybody has to know that when you're having that good run, it's not going to continue. So the biggest thing that you can do when volatility got low, again, you'll recall 2 weeks ago or so, I said, guys, we're going to start tightening up here. We're going to, trade smaller size. We've got to lower our expectations a little bit. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And I know everybody wants to be part of a service like this to get all the best trades and have every trade be profitable, but that's just not real trading. And this is part of the learning process, is understanding when you don't have quite the leverage or you don't have quite the odds in your favor and you have to scale back a little bit. It's like if you were a card counter counting a blackjack deck. You learn, not that I can do that, by the way, but you can learn when things are in your favor and when they might not be. And I can do that, I think, largely in the trading world. So anyhow, so let's take a look at what we still have out there, because we also have some positions that are, stressing us a little bit right now out there that aren't yet closed. Fortunately, none of them are real problematic. But we haven't seen this much red in open positions in some time. This one still has quite a ways to go, so we're still 2 months out on this one. So we can certainly adjust that. I'm not worried about doing anything with this one. This one, we added a second small tent here today. We will need to kind of pay attention to this one. And we do have an order out there for to close this at 7, not close the trade, mind you, but to thin it out. We're going to thin out 2 of those double calendars. If we get our limit order, I wouldn't expect to get that today. This one we did adjust today. We put it back under the tent because we had run way outside of our tent here, but we can still get some decay happening in here. And then this one down here, this one isn't going to hurt us much. We're probably just going to leave it, looking for a little bit of pullback into this tent, possibly. This is the one that we really need to kind of figure out what to do with it. So there's a few schools of thought. I'm not going to put an adjustment out on this today. But I will share with you some of my thoughts on this. And if somebody is so inclined, they can, consider some of these moves. Now, our maximum upside risk here is a little bit more than where we're at right now. So it's could be as much as double where we are right now as this decay. So if we get a continued move up and the market decays up here without us adjusting this, again, we got about 2 weeks on this. It could turn into a larger loser than it is. If we get a little bit of a pullback and volatility were to increase a little bit, just 3-4 points, this thing could get profitable fairly quickly. So you have to kind of decide, are we oversold and maybe going to get a little bit of a pullback, or are we now in a brand new bull market? And as they say in New Zealand, Bob, or Australia, Bob's your uncle. Everything's going to be cool. Everything's going to be good. So if I were going to adjust this next week, the way I would look at adjusting it, the standard move is going to be to sell off this calendar. Now, that is something that if you didn't want to take this little bit of additional risk, if you just sold off this calendar right now and left this as a broken wing butterfly, you're pretty much at max loss right now. So you don't have to worry at that point about your loss getting any worse. And if you were to get a pullback, again, it'd have to be a pretty sizable pullback, but if we were to get a pullback, that could develop some profitability. So there's no reason in my mind to close this entire trade out unless you had some sort of fear that you were going to get all the way down below 4,000, like overnight. Then obviously you'd have to consider that risk. But you would have no more upside risk. You're pretty much at your max loss upside risk if you were to just pull the calendar out of the picture there. So again, if you had an inclination to potentially close this trade, unless you were worried about getting all the way down in here somewhere, I don't know that I would close the trade. I would probably just take the calendar out, and then at least you still have a chance, if you would. So, but what I am thinking on probably doing with this trade come next Tuesday is more something like this. So I would take off that lower calendar. I would put on an upper calendar. I have to put it on in a little bit larger size. Otherwise, I don't really get enough theta decay out of this. I mean, if I'm only one here, which you could certainly do, actually one's not bad. So you could just put on one and again, select where you put it. Actually, I'd want to, center it up a little bit more there, maybe around the 4420, somewhere in that range. So I would probably lean toward something like that. You've got about 22 theta decay. The thing I don't like about this is this valley of death here. So, and also, if you do continue to run to the upside, well, you could suffer even a larger loss if we move up another 100 points here. So you have to keep that in mind too. Do you think we could potentially run up another 100 points? Or what if we run down, 100 points? Now, running down 100 points, volatility will increase a little bit, which will help us in this position. But again, it's not exactly going to help us the way it models here. We need to understand that while it will likely expand the tent a little bit, if the front period expands at a higher rate than the back period, it's not going to model the same way. That is one of the unique things about calendars, diagonals, time spreads in general. Now, let me show you one other thing that would probably be my go-to. I don't like this valley of death here, so I can resolve some of that by maybe pulling off one of these shorts. Then, if we get a pullback, that's going to do really well for us. However, look what that did. We're now negative theta. So this whole trade is now costing us money to be in each day. Now that will switch as this decays a little faster, but you can see we have a very small tent here now. That is why earlier I was modeling two butterflies here, or excuse me, two calendars here, as I was considering putting the two calendars in here removing one of these shorts, that gives me a little safer downside picture. Again, I have even a little worse upside picture at this point. So if I think the market might go higher, this is not something I would want to do. But if I'm thinking we might stabilize here or we might pull back a little bit, then I like this a lot, because now if our volatility increases just a little bit even, um, this, or excuse me, actually not those, these longs are going to increase in value fairly quickly. And because we have one less short, we're going to get a little bit of an extra boost or juice off of that. So for me and my beliefs here on Friday, I'm not recommending this adjustment yet. I'm not making this adjustment yet, but I want to show people possibilities that they might consider if you want to do something yourself going into the weekend. But I think come next week, if the market is still in this general area, this is probably going to be my personal go-to move, because I have an opinion that we're kind of hitting some overhead resistance here. Again, I've been wrong, obviously, the past couple of weeks. I wasn't expecting this big of a move, but that's where I'm going to put my money, if you will. So again, not making this yet. Just wanted to kind of give people a heads up as to what I am considering on this one. And we'll see next week how it plays out. And again, I think that's it for the weekend update. If we take a look again at our market, looking at the expectation here, from what all I've just said, my expectation is probably a little bit of a pullback. This just feels very, very overdone. There was a lot of what I thought were very astute comments in the community yesterday about this possibly being a short squeeze. And I think that is highly likely. So a short squeeze is when there's a lot of people in the market that are short stock, or they have on positions in SPX or anything else that are losing money as the market goes up. And much like losing money when the markets go down, people tend to hit their uncle point. And they say, oh, I got to close this. I don't know how high this market's going to go. And so everybody starts chasing then those positions, those short positions that they have to close, because they're sitting there watching the pain get bigger and bigger and bigger until they hit their uncle point. By the way, that's not the side of trading any of us want to be on. I try to keep us out of that realm. But so when that happens, anytime you get even a flat line in the chart for a few minutes, or just a little bit of a pullback in the chart for a minute or two, then everybody starts jumping back in and it starts all over again. In fact, if I move this to, let me see if I can change this to a, let's see, I'm trying to remember here because I don't normally do my charting on this, but let's see. Yeah, here we go to, let's go to a third. Yeah, we'll go to a 5-minute chart and we look at yesterday. So let's see. This is, I think this is, yeah, this is yesterday here. So anytime that you've got even just a little hint of a pullback and they jump, and then you get this big run again, you get a little hint of a pullback and they jump back in, a little hint of a pullback. So you just see the waves just going throughout the day here. Anytime you had that little bit of a pullback, everybody's thinking, oh my gosh, this is my chance. I've got to take it now or the pain's only going to get worse. So you see those really, the wave moves like that, I think more so in short covering or in a down move, in a protracted down move where you get a little bit of a rally, back to where the price was previously. And then people try to sell to get out, which is going to drive the market lower. So when you get that distinct wave pattern that happens in 15-minute charts, 5-minute charts, etc., a lot of times those are people that are getting a little desperate because of the big move. So anyhow, I think that's it for today. Everybody have a great 3-day weekend. We will see you on Tuesday. If you have anyone out there that's newer to options trading, I am going to be putting on a seminar Tuesday right after the market close. You can see it on, if you go to the YouTube channel, there's a little blurb for it there, tells people how to sign up, etc. It's options trading for beginners. So anybody that's here in my group, this is probably going to be below your knowledge level. I mean, this is, so probably not for most of you. But if you know of anybody that wants to know a little more about options, how they work, refer them to those little YouTube commercials that I have there, the YouTube shorts. That will give them a link to sign up if they want to sign up for the free 1-hour session. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. And I apologize for taking a day off to spend time with the grandkids. It's all on me. Take care. Bye.